Rudy Giuliani has been accused of some truly disturbing things in a new lawsuit by a former employee. Rudy Giuliani hired Noelle Dunphy in 2019, and from the very beginning of her working for him is when these allegations began coming from. Shocking stuff, as I said, disturbing. We'll go through the details in this segment, starting with this from The Guardian. A former associate of Rudy Giuliani sued the former New York mayor, presidential candidate, and attorney to Donald Trump for $10 million on Monday, alleging abuses of power, wide-ranging sexual assault and harassment, wage theft, and other misconduct, including alcohol-drenched rants that included sexist, racist, and anti-Semitic remarks. And then Mediaite put together a good piece walking through some of the extensive allegations against Rudy Giuliani. I've kind of taken this and some of the other reporting on this situation and synthesized it down to a summary of the details for you. So I won't be reading directly from this Mediaite piece, but credit to them because I'm using it as a guide. So last thing before we dive into the details, it's extensive and there are a lot of details, so apologies up front, I'll likely miss some of the details, but you'll get a sense of the accusations. So with that being said, Rudy Giuliani is being accused of repeatedly raping Noelle Dunphy, forcing her to have sex with him despite repeated objections. Again, we're talking about an individual he hired in 2019, and from very early on, right at the beginning, this is when many of these allegations began popping up. He would push and pressure and, quote, would not take no for an answer, unquote. The quotes will be, of course, from the lawsuit directly. He allegedly repeatedly made her perform oral sex on him against her will and would do so during calls with high-profile individuals like Donald Trump because it made him, quote, feel like Bill Clinton. And then reading directly from the lawsuit as well, he would look to Ms. Dunphy, point to his erect penis, and tell her that he could not do any work until you take care of this. And then he was apparently recorded saying by Noelle Dunphy racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic things, such as referring to Jewish men's penises as inferior and saying Jews want to go through their freaking Passover all the time. Man, oh man, get over the Passover. It was like 3,000 years ago. Then apparently saying black and Hispanic men beat women because it's in their culture, and allegedly made sexual remarks about Hillary Clinton, Margaret Thatcher, and Nancy Pelosi. And then during video conference calls with Noelle Dunphy during the pandemic, he would allegedly make her take her clothes off in front of the camera while he touched himself, quote, under a white sheet. He also apparently made her work naked often or in short shorts or bikini. And then, reading from the lawsuit directly, although Ms. Dunphy never knew when Giuliani might force sexual conduct on her upon information, believed his actions were premeditated because in many instances he had taken Viagra or similar medication beforehand in preparation. The lawsuit also claims that Rudy Giuliani was rarely sober, a fact that we're well aware of at this point, but she's once again outlining that. And apparently it was part of her job to make sure he didn't embarrass himself publicly while he was drunk. And also, the lawsuit alleges that Giuliani would groom young women, offering them big titles and pay, and then would use that power to get into a sexual relationship with them, including kissing a 19-year-old staffer. And then one instance detailed in the lawsuit, quote, when Miss Dunphy got out of the shower, she was startled to see that Giuliani had entered the guest suite uninvited. Then he would not leave and sat on the bed and pulled down his pants and forced her to perform oral sex on him. And apparently the scene from Borat, you might remember, this is referenced in the lawsuit, where Rudy Giuliani laid his back on the bed and sticks his hand in his pants and all that. And he was saying, no, it was nothing sexual. Apparently, that is exactly kind of how it played out, except then he forced her to have, to perform oral sex on him. And so that's kind of establishing a pattern of behavior. We all are aware probably of that Borat scene that I'm referencing. Then there's supposedly recordings of many different aspects of this lawsuit, including Giuliani saying he wanted Miss Dunphy from the day he interviewed her, and saying he thinks of her as his daughter while engaging in sexual conduct contact, I should say, and asking something to the effect of, is this weird? And other conversations they had as well. Then there was a text message of Giuliani allegedly saying he wanted to shower with Noelle Dunphy, and so many other details we won't get to today. But we have more separate from the sexual abuse and the racist, anti-Semitic stuff in the form of this. Giuliani, quote, asked Ms. Dunphy if she knew anyone in need of a pardon, telling her that he was selling pardons for $2 million, which he and President Trump would split. He told Ms. Dunphy that she could refer individuals seeking pardons to him so long as they did not go through the normal channels of the Office of the Pardon Attorney, because correspondence going to that office would be subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. So Giuliani was asking, according to this lawsuit, Dunphy and disclosing to Dunphy the fact that Trump and Giuliani were selling pardons while Trump was president. And then in another detail that is not surprising, but should still shock us, should still make us very angry, Giuliani talked to Dunphy about the Trump team's plan before the election to say that it was all stolen, that there was voter fraud, and all of that if Trump were to lose. Now, we knew that's what happened. We knew those conversations took place. We knew Trump was going to say this, and he was preparing for that. If he lost, it wasn't based on the evidence the entire time. We know, but yet another example of those conversations going on behind the scenes, where Giuliani is allegedly telling one of his employees, someone who works with him, for him, that the Trump team is planning to say, oh, there was voter fraud if Trump loses. And then all these people who support Trump go on to believe that he's the truth teller. And yeah, these things can't be proven in court. And yeah, all the audits, yeah, all the recounts, all the investigations, nothing could uncover this evidence. But I believe Trump because he is the sole bearer of truth. Even though so many times now we've seen, actually, he is scamming you, he's lying to you, because his fifis couldn't take losing an election. He couldn't just do what every other president had done and respect the peaceful transition of power, respect the election results, and instead wanted so badly to hold on to power that he was willing to throw out our democracy to install himself president for 4 years after his first term, despite the fact that he lost to Joe Biden in 2020, as we've talked about extensively. But here's yet another example of it. And then back to the pardon thing. This is not the first time this has come up. This is from the New York Times. A one-time top advisor to the Trump campaign was paid $50,000 to help seek a pardon for John Karaoke, a former CIA officer convicted of illegally disclosing classified information, and agreed to a $50,000 bonus if the president granted it, according to a copy of an agreement. And Mr. Karaoke was separately told that Mr. Trump's personal lawyer, Rudolph W. Giuliani, could help him secure a pardon for $2 million. Mr. Karaoke rejected the offer, but an associate, fearing that Mr. Giuliani was illegally selling pardons, alerted the FBI. Mr. Giuliani challenged this characterization. So if this is true, my goodness, Giuliani needs to be held accountable for all the sexual abuse and all that. And then also these claims need to be investigated when it comes to the possible selling of pardons. And then I wish on the last piece of the plans to say there was voter fraud and the election was stolen, I just wish Trump's followers, the 63% of Republicans that believe the election of Joe Biden was illegitimate, I just wish they would observe the facts in a situation like this and realize, oh, I'm the one being scammed. Trump is the one scamming me. Trump is the one lying to me. And Trump is the one that I should stand against. But likely this won't move the needle. And then once again, I say, for all the sexual abuse allegations, we will see how the process moves forward. We will see all of it, and I'll continue to cover it. But if this turns out to be true, Giuliani absolutely needs to be held accountable.